In this third video, we're going to do some more practice with the 45, 45, 90 right triangle, both going forward and this time throwing in a few examples where they give us the hypotenuse and we have to go backwards to figure out what the leg is. So let's get started. In number 10, each leg is 3/4. So I know by the if sides then angles theorem, the angles are congruent and they're each going to be 45, 45. So I know I have a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. The rule is, if I have a 45, 45, 90 right triangle and I have the legs, you just multiply by root 2 to get the hypotenuse. So if I have 3/4 and I multiply by root 2, which I can think of as root 2 over 1, I get 3 root 2 on the top, and I get 4 on the bottom. So the hypotenuse is 3 root 2 over 4. In number 11, I see I have another right triangle in which the legs are the same, which means the angles are going to be the same and they're going to be 45 each. I have a 45, 45, 90. The rule is take the leg and multiply it by root 2. Now root 2 times root 2 is root 4, and the square root of 4, of course, is 2. Okay, in number 12, I have a right triangle in which the legs are the same. So the angles opposite those legs will also be the same. So I have a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. I'm given the leg of root 6. I multiply by root 2 as per the rule. And this time I get root 12. But I have to ask myself if that can be simplified further, and it can, if I think about 12 as 4 times 3. Since the square root of 4 is 2, the final answer is 2 square root 3. Now, in number 13, they're giving us the hypotenuse, but I still realize that the legs are the same. Now, if you were given the leg and you wanted to find the hypotenuse, you were supposed to multiply by root 2. But if you're given the hypotenuse and you want to go backward and find one of the legs, you have to divide the hypotenuse by root 2. So let's set that up. Start with the hypotenuse and divide it by root 2. When you do this, the root 2's will cancel from on the top and the bottom, and you're left with just 13. So each leg is 13. Let's do that again. In problem number 14, they give us that the hypotenuse of this right triangle is 26 root 2. They also tell us that each leg is the same. Each leg has a length of x. So I know it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. If they give us the hypotenuse and I want to find the leg, I write down the hypotenuse. I divide by root 2. I notice that the root 2's cancel on the top and the bottom, and I'm just left with 26. So each leg is 26. In number 15, they give us a hypotenuse again. It's a little bit of a tricky hypotenuse because there's a fraction involved, which could be a little scary. But let's see how we're going to handle this. We also observe that each leg is the same, so I have this 45, 45, 90 situation. The rule is, if they give you the hypotenuse and you want to find a leg, you're supposed to divide by root 2. So we'll start with the hypotenuse, root 2 over 3. And from the lesson before we talked about this, we can think of this fraction as 1/3 root 2. These are the same. So I'm going to take this hypotenuse of 1/3 root 2 and I'm going to divide it by root 2. The root 2's cancel and you're left with just 1/3. Each leg is 1/3. And finally, in number 16, they give us that the hypotenuse is 6 and I have to find each leg. I start by writing down the hypotenuse, and I know that to get from the hypotenuse to the leg I have to divide by root 2. I also remember that you're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So I'm going to need to rationalize the denominator by multiplying the top and bottom by some form of 1. And in this case, it's going to be root 2 over root 2. On the top, I get 6 root 2, and on the bottom, I get the square root of 4. Simplifying that further, I get the top is still 6 root 2, the square root of 4 is 2, and now the 6 and the 2 reduce to a 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So each leg is 3 root 2.